it's funny, folks. The left is all about cultural appropriation, right? So around Halloween, if I wanted to, wear traditional Mexican attire with the sombrero, oh no, because I'm not Mexican, you can't do that. You're a racist or what have you. And yet, it looks like the appropriation of the poppy, which I would say is sacred or at least semi-sacred, is going ahead. And who's doing it? Yeah, that's right. It's it is the Hamas. They strike yet again. And here's, as you can see, that was the version of a poppy. As it turns out, this is a UK initiative. They've thrown in the colors of the Palestinian flag. And by the way, why aren't the left losing their marbles about appropriating the poppy in such a regard? Oh, I guess, war and veterans and the war dead. That's all part of colonialism, imperialism, and white supremacy, I suppose. And even more to the point, on November the 26th in Mississauga, a huge city just to the west of Toronto, there is going to be a gathering of the pro-Hamas hooligans wearing poppies and using the phrase, lest we forget. No, not for being 2 weeks late from November the 11th. They will be honoring on that day Sinwar, the terrorist mastermind who Israel miraculously assassinated. And by the way, why do they have to mourn him? I thought the deal is if you're a martyr, you get your 72 voluptuous black-eyed virgins, right? I guess they're running out of virgins in that neck of the woods, given how many are, going for the down count. But Sheila will be there to cover that. And by the way, this is why I personally won't be on the live stream on Monday. I'm going down to Old City Hall in Toronto on Remembrance Day. And for two reasons. The obvious one, to pay my respects to the veterans and those who made the ultimate sacrifice. And also to keep an eye out with the camera rolling for any members of the Hitler Youth Movement that might want to come along. I can tell you last year, it was only really one vocal person, some childless cat lady, looked like a gender studies grad, holding up a little sign for Palestine and interrupting the ceremonies. It was absolutely despicable. But I guess it just shows you, going back 5 years ago, Sheila, that Don Cherry was so ahead of the curve. Remember? That, these people come here to live in the land of milk and honey. And is it too much to ask that on one day that, if we have that video, Olivia, why don't we run it? Because this was 5 years ago, almost to the day, on what turned out to be the last Coach's Corner. And let's hear the immortal Grapes in his own words.
To a veteran, I said, I'm not going to run the poppy thing anymore because what's the sense? I live in Mississauga. Nobody wears very few people wear a poppy. Downtown Toronto, forget it, downtown Toronto, nobody wears a poppy. And I'm not going to, he says, wait a minute. How about running it for the people that buy them? Now you go to the small cities and the rows on rows, you people love, they come here, whatever it is, you love our way of life, you love our milk and honey. At least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies or something like that. These guys pay for your way of life that you enjoy in Canada. These guys paid the biggest price. Anyhow, I'm going to run it again for you great people and good Canadians that bought a poppy. I'm still going to run it.
Sheila, to this day, 5 years later, and I've replayed that little speech in my head over and over and over again. What in blue hell did Don Cherry say that was wrong or incorrect? What?
Not a thing. Not a thing. And it irritates me to no end. Actually, it angers me to no end that these people, these modern Nazis, are co-opting a symbol of the men and women who gave their lives to fight the Nazis the first time around on Canadian streets. It's despicable. It's revolting. It's evil. And Don Cherry was entirely right. And his compatriot there sold him up the river to save his job. And now he couldn't be woker. He's Mr. Rainbow Tape.
And folks,
Ron MacLean.
Sheila's 100% accurate. If you want to review that footage, watch how Ron MacLean, R is for Ron and R is for Rat, but watch how Ron MacLean keeps nodding his head and putting the thumbs up sign. And then suddenly when the woke puppet masters at the network find this offside, Ron distances himself, even though I believe at least on 2 occasions.
Look, he's nodding. He drove the Zamboni.
There he is. He's nodding again. In the affirmative. Thumbs up. Did you see that? So, boy, that was a real super quick come to Satan moment for Ron MacLean when it got a little hot. And what bugs me there, Sheila, I believe at least on 2 occasions, Don Cherry fought for Ron MacLean's job, but no quid pro quo, it would seem.
Ron MacLean is Canada's worst friend. The worst friend. He's Mr. Fully Woke Hockey Rainbow Tape with Alberta's new Senator Christopher Wells. He's part of that Rainbow Tape initiative, writing op-eds about diversity in hockey. I mean, it's just horrible. And then was it Don's birthday where he came out and showed his support for his old friend Don Cherry? And it's like, you know what? You drove a Zamboni over him. Get lost.
Yeah, no, it's even worse than that, Sheila. The Cherry family entertained him, thinking this was just a personal call. They were horrified that Ron took photos and then posted them on social media with implying that, look, we're back together again. We're one happy family, even though Don is still unemployed by Hockey Night in Canada. They lived happily ever after. No, that's not what happened that day. So you know what? I want to apologize to Rats, because I think it's an insult to the rodent community to call that viper a rat. What could be worse than a rat or a viper or a weasel, Sheila? Is there something further down the food chain that we, could give that animal moniker to Ron MacLean?
I just don't want to malign the vermin that way. Let's we've got one more, just a response from Pierre Poilievre on this topic. If we want to bring that up, I forget where it is. It's way up here. Poilievre, Canada's veterans should have nothing but pride in wearing a uniform they defended. And this is after a high school or a Halifax school drops the ask that the military ditch their uniform. So basically they said, if you're coming to Remembrance Day, don't wear your uniform. It can be triggering. Yep. And so every year some stupid school does this, and then it blows up in their face, and now they've walked it back. And Poilievre, naturally, of course, sided with our veterans because they defend freedom against tyranny and continued to guard the flame of freedom today.
Sheila, don't people follow the news? Because every single year, and this is the example for Remembrance Day season for 2024, some school or some corporation does something moronic, like telling an 84-year-old veteran to get off the premises. You're not allowed to sell poppies here. And of course, it turns into a PR Hiroshima for that company. I remember, a couple of years ago, it was Whole Foods banning their employees from wearing the poppy. Do you remember that? And I remember at the time here at the Rebel News headquarters newsroom, we were doing over-under in terms of when Whole Foods would reverse that policy. I said 2 p.m. I didn't win. Whoever chose noon was the right answer. Like within 2.5 hours, they bent the knee and not only went from allowing their employees to wear poppies, but actually putting poppy donation boxes in their stores. The point is, Sheila, don't F with Remembrance Day. Don't F with the veterans. You will lose. You will have to bend the knee. You will have to do a mea culpa. You will have to apologize. You cannot win on this file. So I'm going to be really interested to see if there's any BS shenanigans on Remembrance Day in Toronto with the Hamas people. And then I want to see what the Canadian Legion, to tell you the truth, is going to do about the appropriation of the poppy for November 26th in Mississauga. I hope they're going to call the police. I hope they're going to invoke civil action, at least on trademark infringement.
I don't know if you can call the police on trademark infringement, but the Legion is hopelessly woke these days. So I bet you they will let this one group co-opt it.
Well, that'll be part of the story. Will they?
It sure will be.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We've got a quick a quick chat to read. And then we've got a quick Rebel News ad break, I think. And then we'll come into the gender nonsense portion of the show quickly before we wrap. This one is from, I don't know, is it Stan or is it Yosh? But it's a Schmengi.
Great SCTV reference by Sheila Gunn Reid there, folks.
Yeah, we've got one of the Happy Wanderers here. It's military chaplains can't say a prayer at Remembrance Day ceremonies, yet pray at the pride flag raising ceremony. Upside down world, folks. The far left must be defeated.
Yeah, what is the latest on that? That was something from last year, if I remember, Sheila. Is that still ongoing?
It's a perennial story.
Huh?
It's a perennial story. I remember they didn't want Catholics to be military chaplains because we're just a little too prickly about the rules. So
yeah, maybe a little too Christian too, you know.
Yeah, we're sticklers. Here it is again. This is from the Conservative Party of Canada. This is their press release. Today, Canadians discovered that I'll just flip this to the chat there, Olivia. Canadians discovered that the NDP Liberal government, are continuing to ban military chaplains from praying during Remembrance Day ceremonies across Canada. Last year, Trudeau's Minister of National Defence, Bill Blair, the old sleep at the switch, Bill Blair, promised that chaplains are not and will not be banned from prayer on Remembrance Day. David, I feel like this is a video living inside you that you need to get out. But now Canadians... Yeah, I know. But now Canadians know that the NDP Liberal government lied and said they gave just a one-time exemption. This means that prayers will be banned on the Remembrance Day ceremonies on Monday, with the Trudeau government reminding chaplains that no exemptions have been granted this year. On top of this, the Trudeau government directive removes the mention of the word prayer and replaces it with spiritual reflections. The direction goes on to say that chaplains should, quote, employ a language mindful of the gender-based analysis principles. If any chaplain chooses to ignore this, they have been warned that they will face disciplinary measures. You know what? Chaplains, I hope you break this.
Yep.
I hope you break this. You have to do what's right. You have to stand for your conscience. This is abhorrent. What's happening here? What do you think chaplains are supposed to do? They're not group therapists.
Being disciplined?
They're religious leaders. They're not some sort of therapist, some agnostic therapist. These are religious advisors to the military.
It's like issuing a ban on fish to swim. Sheila, what did I just say about 3 minutes ago? You F with Remembrance Day, you F with the veterans, you will lose. And co-prime ministers Blackface Trudeau and Sellout Singh are going to learn that this is another losing agenda. And in just 11 months, hopefully sooner, they're going to realize that this is part and parcel of all the shite they have burdened upon our nation, which is making them, hopefully become unemployed. And I mean losing their seats. I know that won't happen with Trudeau, but certainly with Sellout Singh, there is a possibility. I can't wait.
I want to read these last two sentences from this press release because this is absolutely true. During World War II, chaplains led prayer on the boats on the eve of the D-Day landings. Chaplains have provided last rites to dying soldiers on the field. The Prime Minister is now telling Canadians that on Remembrance Day, they cannot even pray for those who fought for our country. All Canadians should be alarmed by this latest Liberal NDP government intrusion.
And Sheila, you said it well. If you are a chaplain, break this rule.
Break this.
Why don't we have an I'm Spartacus moment and every single one of them breaks the rule? What are they going to do? Discipline them all? Fire them all? Really? For doing what you're supposed to be doing? For doing what you're honor bound to do? What a horrible, despicable government this is, and a prime minister, if I may say so, Sheila. That is beyond the pale garbage.
If you are a religious leader in this country, if you are a Christian leader in this country, you know, and many of you let Canadians down during COVID. Many of you betrayed Canadians during COVID, and you abandoned your obligations as pastors. But now's your time. Now's your time. You know that your obligation is to obey the rules of God when the rules of God come in conflict with the rules of man. In particular, this man, Justin Trudeau, is forcing you to violate your conscience, to not pray for our fallen and our current serving, many of whom are motivated to serve this country through their faith alone. So violate this.
Yeah.
Pray. Just pray.
If the government or its law enforcement agency, Sheila, went to a Catholic priest and said to him, we have reason to suspect that somebody in confession said something that is very much in the interest of the state, and we want you to reveal that, and if you don't, it's penalty of law. What would any priest do in that scenario, Sheila?
They will not violate the seal of the confessional.
They would go to jail, wouldn't they?
100%.
Yeah.
Whatever became of them. For them, the consequence is not as important as not violating the seal of the confessional. So if you go to jail, you arrest them, maybe nothing happens, but they will not violate the seal of the confessional.
Exactly. And this is kind of a similar situation in my book. So